Okay, hello.
Yes, hello.
Okay, now I'm with you 100%.
All right, 100%. All right, cool. I'm with you
Yeah,
about like I'm gonna say like high 70s, low 80s% right now. Okay, it's the
that's
best
fine. That's
best
fine.
I can muster right now.
Yeah, last night was one heck of a night.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
I didn't drink. I didn't drink that much, so I'm like
Mhm.
good right now.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Mm.
yeah, we good.
I rang like all my other neighbors' bell to see like if they would wanted to join us for a drink, but the only two that were at home, they're both Muslim, so they can't drink. So it was like, well, just wish them happy New Year, and then
Yeah, just Happy New Year's. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
and
yeah,
then they went to bed.
that's that's funny.
Yeah. Wow, just three of us just hung out. It was really nice.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right,
not
so we
bad.
have about 1 hour, so let's stay on point. Do you have like a list of questions already, or?
Yeah, I have like some questions that I want to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm level 222 Pathfinder.
Okay.
I'm like able to clear 3 doors in CRA.
Mm-hmm.
Like hardly, like I'm like still not that good with mechanics, so like I'm trying my best, but like damage wise, like I'm good on that.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask you more about the V matrix. Like, what should I work on that? Like further?
Mm-hmm.
Like I should like max out like my attack skills, but like I don't know how to like farm nodes that much. Like I'm like a new like returning player to Maple
Mm-hmm.
Story.
Mm-hmm.
It's like my first account. I'm also like working on a DB. I'm like funding two classes right now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I need some like farming tips. Like should I farm on my Pathfinder and train it like while farming, or should I like make a canna and farm on the canna?
Mm-hmm.
So like I need some like general like Maple Story tips because like I'm a returning player, and like especially how I'm gonna like my goal is to like solo Lumion, like Lotus and Damien.
Yeah,
That's like
on
my
both the Blade
goal.
Master and the Pathfinder. You
No, the
wanna
Pathfinder for now. The
okay,
Pathfinder for now.
but
Yeah.
eventually you wanna reach that on the Blade Master as well.
Eventually, yeah. I want
Mm-hmm.
to make my DB like a bossing mule. Like I love the DB. Like
Mm-hmm.
I love playing it, and I also love playing the Pathfinder. So I was like, yeah. Like I made a DB for like Legion, and then like I used to play Dual Blade when I was playing in Kahini, like maybe like 7 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
like 6 years ago. So I was like, yeah, that's pretty fun. And I saw the new fifth skills that they have for Dual Blades, and it's sick. So I was like, yeah, I'll make like my Dual Blade like a bossing mule, and like I love playing Pathfinder, so it's gonna be like my main. But I also
Mm-hmm.
love DB, so it's gonna be like my bossing mule.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like I want to like solo Lumion in my Pathfinder. That's like my goal.
Okay. Did you say Kahini?
I think it's pronounced Kahini. Yeah,
I've heard like over the years I was in Barra and I heard
yeah.
like 16 different ways of people pronouncing it. To me it looks like Kaini, but
Kaini, Kahini, like
I've heard like
yeah,
Kihina, Kahaini, Kahaini. I think it became a meme at a certain point to like make the name like somewhat
yeah.
the same letters, but just every single time you mention a server, just to name it something else or something. It was weird.
Yeah, like I used to call it Kahini, so I'm not
Hmm.
sure how people like other people pronounce it, but yeah,
Well,
it's pretty funny.
it's merged now, right?
Yeah, it's merged. I think it's like called Aurora right now or something.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure.
Yeah, there's Aurora and Elysium, so I mean, yep,
Yeah,
it's gonna be one of those
like I
two.
started playing Maple Story like 2 months ago. Like I restarted playing Maple Story like 2 maybe 3 months ago, and yeah, so
Lots
I'm like
to
still
lots
like
to learn.
yeah, lots of shit to learn.
Hmm. Okay. Okay, that gives me some good foundation to start with. So in general, you're doing everything on one computer, right? You're not thinking about like machine
Yeah,
on another one or.
yeah. Like I'm a college student right now, so like
Mm-hmm.
Maple Story, like I play Maple Story like maybe 4 5 hours a day top.
Mm-hmm.
So like I do my dailies. I try to do my dailies every day. Try to boss as much as I can, and like train as much as I can, but
Mhm.
like I'm not like 100% committed to Maple Story at this point of my life.
I mean, 4 to 5 hours a day. Some people might say that that's pretty committed, though.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, like not like straight 4 hours, like, you know, like 1 hour now, like take a break, 1 more hour, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah, no, I get you. I get you. Like some people say they're fully committed and they play like an hour and a half a day or something, you know. But no, I
That's
get
relative.
what you mean. Yeah, exactly. It's relative. Um, okay. Right. All right. So one of the things is if you want to play multiple characters, maybe not like as insanely in the beginning as later. One of the ways that you
Mhm.
will disproportionately fund both of your accounts is through leveling other characters with Legion and Link, because you can basically double dip from the value that you get from that, right? Because
Yeah.
you'll be able to move the Link skills around whenever you want to, and then the base setup of your Legion will make both of your characters stronger. So disproportionately,
Mhm.
spending a little bit more of your time investing in that, instead of investing it into farming money directly, will help you disproportionately.
Okay.
So that's one thing. So I would definitely advise to build out your Legion at least to like 4K, but what I advise to most people is just to aim for 6K eventually. Seems insane when you're only at 1.5 probably. Um, but as you see it now, you know how everything works with like the levels and when it registers and leveling up the characters and such and leveling your Legion, how that
I mean,
increases
like,
everything.
I have maybe like 6 accounts who are level 120,
Mm-hmm.
and I have two 200s, I think. Like, my DB is like 198, and my Adele is 200, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
Terra burning Beast Tamer right now. So
Okay.
yeah, like I'm gonna level up my like mules to like 140 for Legion, and I'm gonna make some more classes for Link and Legion. So
Mm-hmm.
like my goal right now is 3K. Like I saw a video of you saying that when you hit 3K Legion, like some tabs like open up in the Legion section. So like
Yes, yeah.
3K
At
is like
2K, the first extra grid pops up, and you can have access to
yeah.
like the smallest amounts of the outer spaces, and then
Mm-hmm.
every 1K after that, so 3K, 4K, 5K, 6K, gives you one additional. The reason why 3K is kind of big, especially in the beginning, is because when you get that rank up, you get 5 extra characters instead of one that you can put into
Yeah.
the grid. So not only do you get more space, but you also get the resources needed to be able to fill up that space, which is even more
Yeah.
important, right? Because having the whole grid available but no characters to put in isn't really useful. That's why you don't go
Yeah,
for
that's true.
like two
That's
level
true.
275 characters and then have a rank up your Legion, but then have
Yeah.
just two pieces in there. It's really disproportionately, well, just makes it not really take full advantage of the Legion. Um, and once you start getting into the outer spaces and everything, then those are the ones you want to disproportionately fill up because they give you way more of a damage increase than a lot of the other stuff. So you want to make sure that you start basically moving around all your pieces so that you can surely build out the sides so that you can get into critical damage, maybe critical rate, boss damage, that kind of stuff. But it'll
Yeah.
depend on what the classes need. I think DB is in a very good position where you can basically get your crit rate and your IED for free just from the kit.
Yeah.
And you can just solely focus on critical damage and boss damage, and that's it. Pathfinder will probably depend on most of the same stuff as well, but later on in the game, crit rate will also become more useful once you're vicious shot and you start bursting, once that becomes better. And if you need IED to deal damage to bosses, I already saw that your IED is a little bit on the low end, so we will keep that in mind. And it's probably the reason why, even though you have big range, you're kind of still struggling killing the 3-door, and Vellum is probably a little bit too hard because of the extra defense that it has. Yeah, and once you move on to try to do like Hardlux, Hellux, and then Lotus and Damien, you will need a lot more IED.
Yeah. I mean, in my hyper skills, there's like this buff that is like it like increases your IED by 20%.
Mm-hmm.
I used to have that, but like I like redid my hyper stats because of like this my hyper skills. I mean, because of this like video I saw on YouTube, like a Pathfinder, like just like explaining what you need to have in your hyper skills.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to ask you on that too, because should I like I'm making a beast tamer and I made a 0, so I think when you hit to 110 in the beast tamer, you'll get like 5% IED,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'm working on my reinforced set, like Gallic set. I have, I think, around 700 coins at this
Mm-hmm.
point, and I have 2 items, so I'm gonna buy 2 more in the shop, which gives me 15% IED and 30% boss damage, which is gonna be like significantly
Mm-hmm.
increase my damage and my IED.
I
So
wouldn't
that's
do. I
like what I
wouldn't.
had in
Yeah.
mind.
Mm-hmm.
What?
I wouldn't do the reinforced part. Because eventually you want to get to superior, and you want to get to superior as fast as possible, and you will. It's better to try to get the ID from other sources first temporarily, and then save your coins so you can invest it into superior gear, because then you can get the 30% ID chunk. Do you know how ID works? Like how it's calculated?
Not exactly, but doesn't it have like the same like set effect, like reinforced and superior?
You bet. Yes, but superior, the force set effect is a chunk of 30% IED versus 15.
Oh, okay. I did not see that. Okay.
And because of how ID is calculated, bigger sources, just bigger percentages, of course they're better, but they're disproportionately better. Like one line of 30 is better than 2 separate lines of 15. And that's just because of how it's calculated. So whenever you take a source of IED, that it's always calculated individually. So if you have like 20% somewhere, 15% somewhere, 10% somewhere, it's not like plus 35% or something, or that was bad maths.
But that, yeah, I get that.
But you
point,
get what I
though.
mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
45, I think. Oh, shit. But it's like plus 10%. So every time you add a line of IED, it looks at how much you already have, how much you're missing to get to 100%, and it takes the percentage of the line of how much you're missing. So let's say that you start at, you're close to 80%, right? If you add a line of 20%, you add 20% of how much you're missing from 100, which is 20%. 20% of 20% is 4%, so you go from 80 to 84.
Wow, I did not know that. That's new news to me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So
that makes life more complicated, but I mean, it makes sense.
It makes it more complicated, but at least you know more what you're working with, right? So that if the boss has, so we'll take Vellum for example. It has 200% PDR, so 200% physical damage reduction. So if you're let's say that your IED functionally with your attacks is 80%, you ignore 80% of his 200% armor, which is 160. So that leaves 40% armor. So that means your damage is reduced by 40%. That's a final damage reduction. But if instead of 80 we can get you up to 90, for example, now you ignore 90% of his armor, which is 180, so he has 20% armor left. So 20% damage reduction. So instead of doing 60% of your damage, you go to dealing 80% of your damage, which means your damage goes up by 33%.
Okay, and our goal is to reach 100%, right?
So technically, you have to see it as, do you know like the conundrum when you have two people who stand a certain distance from each other and they always, they decrease the distance by 50%?
Okay.
You can never really reach the other person, right? Because if you take a percentage of the distance, unless one, and that's basically how IED is, right? You take 20% closer, and then the total chunk gets smaller, right? Even though the percentages is the same. But the only way to actually get to 100 is if one of your sources is 100%. And if one source is 100%, then all the other ones don't matter.
Makes perfect sense.
That's kind of like with DB, right? You have one skill that gives 100%. You can have 18% in your stat window, but the skill will still hit full damage, right?
Wow. Yeah.
So
that's why DB are considered like great bossers, right?
Exactly, because you can hard focus on the crit damage, on the boss damage, and because a lot of your damage comes from skills that have high IED and that you can use very, very often, and they have great percentage. Yeah, that's why they're considered such strong bossers, especially early on. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Makes
perfect sense.
Yeah, so for I was linking that into something. So you don't want to go for 100% because that will also mean that even though that would be the ideal situation, but only if it doesn't go at the expense of a bunch of your damage, right? It's like when you're in, I don't know if you play League of Legends or something, but if you build like a lot of penetration, which is basically your IED, but you have no damage to back it up, then yeah, sure, you can ignore all the armor of the boss, but you have no damage to push through. And on the other side,
Yeah.
if you don't build any penetration, you can have insane damage, but none of it goes through because you don't have the penetration. So it's always about finding the balance. And for every class, that balance is different. As you will definitely find out between the Dual Blade and the Pathfinder, is that if the Pathfinder doesn't have that much IED in the kit, then they need more from all the sources that we have available. Preferably prioritize the sources that don't go as much at the expense of the other damage, boss damage, percentage attack, those kind of things. And then sometimes even at the expense of those, like in the potential of your weapon, secondary, and emblem perhaps, to make sure that your damage actually goes through and hits the target. And then it's, of course, it always feels a bit weird because you'll just see like the percentage number in your stat window, and that's not even the one that we want to look at, because this is what I call the visual IED, but you actually have a functional IED. And that's when things come into play, like your boost node levels, that hyper skill that you talked about, something like that, maybe a boss debuff like the Explorer Mage. Those things don't show up in your stat window because the game just shows you, regardless of what skill you use and regardless of what you hit, this is your IED. But then if you do hit something that with a skill that gives you IED and on a boss that's debuffed, then the percentage is actually different. So into a certain extent, you're going to have to calculate by yourself what you're actively being able to use as IED. And then that is going to be the goal, depending on what kind of bosses you're fighting. That's what you're going to use as a measuring tool to see how high do I want this to be.
Gotcha.
So we have... So we're mainly going to look at these. Have you gone through the commands a little bit?
No.
Okay, there's a lot in there. So a lot of commands have like just reading material and stuff. I'll basically just give you the TLDR, but then it's probably good in your own time, since we do want to go through this a little bit fast, to like look back at them and to see the exact details and the numbers and everything. But as long as, I'll just ask for your confirmation that you like understand what the point of the whole thing is and that you get it, and then you can check it more on your own time, okay?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. We'll keep this one open, but we'll have to kind of get a first look at everything, right? And then we can circle back to see like where can we make the biggest gains right now. But yeah, like I said, disproportionately, your link skills and your legion are going to help you the most. The priority will probably feel very different between the Dual Blade and the Pathfinder. However, there is still a general priority that I think is very good, because there's like a general best in slot quote unquote priority for your legion as well, because you want to make sure that every new character you make gets stronger and stronger and stronger by the previous ones that you've already made. That way you're growing your legion level faster, you're accessing more characters. You can put the the blocks where you want them. You have more freedom for that, and then that will fund both of your characters. So it feels weird that you're getting your character stronger by not playing them, but that's just how the system works, kind of, yeah. And it feels a little bit counterintuitive, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna read through it when I have more time, like as you said. But yeah, I think I'm getting the point, and it makes sense. That's why I'm also like working on my Link and my Legion, because I heard and saw that it's like a big booster to my like mains range.
And it is a slow starter for sure, but once you get the ball rolling... Hello? Can you still hear me? Oh.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you no longer hear me?
Scardor?
Hello? Uh-oh. Did we break up? Cool.
I can't hear you at all.
That's sudden. Let's call him back real quick. Hello? Am I back?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Hello, hello.
Can you hear me right now?
Yep.
Okay, good.
You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yep. You were fine the whole time for me, but I think you lost my audio for a second there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I have this grid with, this is under ! links. I mean, I can just send you the link right now so you can check it in your own time. Go. So that's like the general order that I advise, and it might not be the... this is basically like a priority list. So if you come across something that you don't need, you just skip it and go to the next one. But the higher up you start, the less chance of that ever happening, because you'll probably need like pretty much everything up until like 2/3 down or something, because it'll just make your legion stronger. And then the main thing that stops people from doing a lot of legion in the beginning is because every character really feels like you're just starting from zero again, and it could just be very slow. So we want to build up that legion and links, and we want to build up the important ones, which is the experience ones, and then crit rate ones. Those are very, very important. Then critical damage, and then basically every character you start is going to be so strong as long as you put the links in your legion towards that character as much as you can. And then they're just going to level fast. And then, especially in the beginning, every single character gets level 60. Boom, 60 legion levels. Get to 100. Kill one Zaku, and boom, you got like 100 plus 108 or something, whatever. Legion levels. Of course, the burns, the mega burns, those will help a lot. And you'll be... Well, you're already 1.5k, right? You'll be 2k in no time. 3k is very accessible. And once you hit that 3k, get those extra characters in, and you finish up leveling the characters to 140, that's like a good sweet spot so that they can get that extra block piece in the Legion grid. Once you hit that, you'll start seeing that every new character you make is significantly stronger than just starting from nothing, from zero. So that's how you can fund your whole account in order to snowball your main characters through Legion and Links. Yeah, that's also you probably were playing. Was it yesterday or 2 days ago? Right, when the Legion kind of broke.
It was, I think, yesterday or 2 days ago. Yeah, I was playing and the Legion broke for some weird reason. It was like for everyone in the game. So
yeah,
like,
so you probably noticed not like a huge difference because of that, right?
Yeah.
Because you just lose some, some strength and some dex and maybe some attack, right? But for someone like me, like where we used to, I lose like 20% critical damage, 40 boss, 40 IED. The character just becomes a paperweight all of a sudden.
Wow.
Because you do build around how much that gives you, right?
Yeah.
Well, of course you're not gonna have like a 8k Legion tomorrow. Oh, I can show it here. But yeah, it does add up so much. That's just the grid bonus, and then the member bonus. All of those little things, all of those little numbers, everything onto a pile together, ends up being a whole lot.
A big chunk of damage. Yeah.
Yes, and especially it allows you to make multiple characters be able to do a lot of things. And if you want to make maybe another bossing wheel after this one, because you just want to, you want to farm CRA a little bit. Maybe you want to make an Adele or something who can do that very quickly as well. That rhymed again. I keep rhyming with Adele. Then they will start off just so strong, and then get to the point where you want to get them so quickly because the whole Legion is in order. And basically, what I compare it to is what non-reboot can do is they can make training gear, right, and transfer that onto a character to make a character strong. What we can do is get the Legion big and put the link skills in the Legion to that character, and that's how we fund new characters. So yeah, if you stick by this general order, if you find a character you absolutely hate and you cannot train it at all, then just wait until there's a burn. I don't know if you've made and then just burn it. Like don't torture yourself with like I have to do this, because if you just postpone one a little bit until the next burn or something, that's not the end of the world. Make sure you make a 0 before the end of the creation event if you haven't already.
I made one. I haven't played it that much, but I made it.
Okay. And yeah, what I usually
burning at Beast Tamer.
Yeah, burning Beast Tamer. Yeah, what I usually do is I would train it to 100 and then just kill Zakum every day until 140, and then while that's doing that, I make a new character, and I just try to make this is like a long time ago though, but just like to make a little bit of progress every day. Not too much, not too little, but just a little bit every day. And then even like a month from now, you'll see a huge difference in your Legion. You can probably reach like 4k in a month, I think, if you just do a little bit every day, because it'll start getting more and more fun because the characters are going to be more and more strong as you go.
Yeah.
And then once you get to 2K and you get the extra grid, then you'll probably want to move the pieces around a little bit. The main setup usually is using the mage and either lower level thief or archer pieces to make a line through the middle to connect basically critical damage and critical rate, so that you can start filling up critical damage and critical rate that way. Although in the beginning, yeah, the pieces will be like sticking out from critical damage into the side stat and then the other way. Do you know how to switch the stats in the middle?
No, I never tried it. No.
So yeah, you see those little arrows on the side, right? That indicates that there's a drop-down menu, so you can pick where the stats go. So if you open up your Legion now and you go to, I don't know if you have to go to assign units or you can just click on the stat already. If you click it, you can switch it with another one, and as long as all 8 stats are assigned, you can click apply, and then they will just switch around. So if you switch characters for your Legion, now you're just going to fill the middle up, right? You're just going to fill up whatever for you is probably going to be like dex and attack or something. So you want to make sure that you put the blocks as much into one of the 1/4, one of the rectangles, and then just make 1 stat dex, 1 stat attack. You switch to dual blade, you switch the dex to luck, and then the luck to dex, and then you apply that. And if you switch to a mage, you switch it to intellect and magic attack, and then you don't have to move any of the pieces around.
Okay.
So, yep. Okay. So that order makes sense. Oh yeah, and remember to save enough coins for the next rank up, so that whenever the rank up happens, you can immediately do that. It's always useful. Do you know where you can find the costs for that?
Yeah, I mean, like I think I leveled up my rank maybe like a month ago. Like I'm not a Legion person. Like I didn't understand how it works because like I'm a returning player. So like I'm just like, you know, like figuring stuff out. Like as long as I play, you know, like while I'm playing, I just like pick up some like convenient stuff, and that's why I wanted to talk with you to like understand more the concept of like Maple Story and like
for sure, yeah.
Like train like better and like yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
What about like my equipments though? Do you think we should like?
So equipment is kind of your whole account is like a puzzle, right? And all the puzzle pieces have to work together to get you to where you want to go. And usually the equipment and where to go next is like the final piece that I usually look at. The other parts I see more of the foundation that is going to be there always, and the equipment is more transient. It's going to be fluctuating more. So I want to make sure that the foundation is more, and that the foundational understanding of things like IED and critical rate and critical damage, you know, all of those stuff, and how like boss damage and damage percentage are basically the same thing when they get thrown into one pile, so they have equal value, that kind of thing. If all of these concepts make sense, then we can go to the equips. But at that point, you'll already understand a lot more why I'm going to say what I'm going to say about the equips, and we can go through that part faster.
Like the whole like IED thing that you explained about, like helped me a lot because I had no idea that like how IED works. I thought like 20%, like 20% in the stat bar, and like it is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Some people think like, oh, I have 80%. I just add a line of 20%. Now I have 100%, and then I can focus on the rest. But
yeah, that's why I was like, when I was like seeing like cubing videos on YouTube, and like people got like 45, like 75% IED on like a weapon or something, they kept like cubing. I was like, why are you doing that?
Yeah. They have like 40 and 35, yeah. Well, that's what we talked about, right? Like IED is definitely very good, and big chunks are good, but if it goes at the expense of a lot of attack, then it's not ideal.
Exactly.
Definitely on your weapon, because a weapon is usually level 160 and up tier. So the one line on there is even more valuable than on your weapon, than on your secondary and your emblem, because it's not a line of 9 attack that you're losing, but a line of 10 or 13 possibly. So that's why usually we want full attack on the weapon, If you get any IED on the weapon secondary emblem, usually we want it on the emblem because the emblem cannot get boss damage, and that way you get more outs, more possible best in slot combinations on your secondary, and then the secondary usually ends up with 2 lines of attack, 1 line of boss, something like that. Because like the 7-1-1 distribution for most classes is the best or very close to the best. Oh yeah, so if you want to know for sure, like here's the. If you check the Legion command, the second list, I'll send you this one. This kind of like explains
I'm gonna check.
A little bit more about the Legion. It's got like the picture as well here of like changing the stats so that you can see what it looks like. Yeah, here are the costs, so you know for sure that you save enough coins and you don't spend it too much on because the rank ups do get kind of expensive. And there's a jump in cost after every time where you get the 5 extra characters. So you see you get 1 extra, then here you get 5 extra, and then the next level after that the cost almost doubles.
Wow. Okay.
And then it's 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. That's 5 again, and then it goes from 420 to 1,000. But yeah, at this point you're already at 6k. But it's normal, I think, that the 6k costs a lot because that's when you get your full grid, right? So.
So 6k is like the goal for every end game play, right?
I would say for late game for sure. End game goal would be 8k. Because it is very achievable to just get all the classes to 200 forehead. Once you have everything 140, it's just like grinding it out 1 character at a time. And then the reason that people go to 8k is because that's the last point where you get that jump again from 31 to 36. So that one is very worth. After that, it's 500 levels that you need to get on characters that are at least level 200 already, all combined for like 3k coins to get 1 extra character in there. This is like not worth. This is
that's crazy.
Yeah, this is just crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And you can actually go to 11k. I don't think there's a rank up for that, but you could go to 11,000, right, if you get everything to 275. And then theoretically you could get to 12k once the level 300 level cap comes out, but I don't know if they're going to do some crazy stuff, make the Legion bigger, or they might do some reworking there.
Yeah, they might do some
add another
stuff.
tier maybe, because the highest tier is now at level 250 to get the biggest block, right? Here you can see the tiers and the levels and everything for all the classes. So yeah, so triple S is at 250, but you can already get to 275, and then 300 comes out, but you get the same block as someone at 250, even though it's, I don't know if you saw the stream yesterday, but it's like 120. One level 300 is as much experience as 120 characters to 275. So.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's literally crazy. Holy shit.
And it's the same amount as 1,044 characters to level 250.
Oh my god.
Which is, a little bit sick.
Yeah, it's a little bit too much.
Yeah. Well, apparently one guy is level 200.
Enjoy it.
Yeah, I know. Apparently one guy is level 277 already, but he said at the current pace, at the best maps, he will take about 5 years to get to 300. But yeah, there'll be new areas. There'll be some extra kind of experience stuff coming out for sure. There has to.
I saw your video about like the new patch upcoming. That's happening on KMS, and yeah, I saw the new maps and like everything that's gonna happen.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
It's gonna be fun.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, Legion. Okay, this all makes sense. You'll look at the exact order later. Okay, so then that makes sense. Yeah, for the V Matrix, from what I understand, Decent Sharp Eyes doesn't do much for you, as in that it cannot speed up your macro because you use the Burst Deluge macro, right?
Yeah.
That it cannot speed it up past a certain point just because the animations can't go any faster. And people have tested on dummies and stuff with various ranks of attack speed. And from what I remember is that 3 attack speed or higher virtually has the same amount of attacks with your macro. All the other skills, of course, can go a little bit faster. But especially early on when you're kind of more struggling with slots for all of your skills and all of your nodes and stuff, it's not a priority to use it. I would also definitely say that I think Decent Advanced Blessing is not a priority compared to some other stuff. And you can probably switch those two out for now for extra boost nodes for while you're training or bossing.
Okay.
I think that will be a good switch that you can make.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the nature of how many boost nodes you end up needing and how many skill nodes are useful for you leveling, the best way to go about this, it's a bit slower initially, but you will get to the finish line faster, is by crafting nodes instead of crafting node stones instead of specific nodes. Do you know how to do that?
Yeah, I think. Okay, yeah, like crafting nodes from in the like V matrix. Yeah.
Yeah. If you go to crafting and then you can do like, you have the screen where you can select which one you want to make, and then but above that
Yeah.
there's like a button like make node stone instead.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and then
Yeah,
you
for
just
sure.
open those because those only cost 35, so that's half of a cost of a boost node and a fourth of a cost of a skill node. But since you have so many good ones, and then the ones that you don't like,
Hello.
wait, Smiley said something in chat about the attack speed, so I'm reading it real quick. Decent
Okay.
speed diffusion and the green pod greatly reduce the animation lock between the macros. So when you're learning bosses, you're more agile. Would recommend depending. You don't want to depend on decent speed infusion, but it's a decent tool for learning. I see. But it doesn't. But it doesn't really speed up how many macros you can do, though, right? Okay, so maybe something to. You can jump macro and land and jump instantly. Okay. No damage increase in damage? in increase? Okay. Okay, but yeah, that is an important thing. Because if you do eventually... Yeah, because I'm thinking, what level... Because I can't really see it. What level is your Vicious Shot? Is it level 1 or...?
Yeah, it's level 1.
Vicious Shot is definitely one of the skill nodes you want to level. Once your boost nodes are definitely top priority, especially the two that you have right now. Those represent a whole lot of your damage, right? But then once you
max out those.
well, once they're maxed or like close to max, but you're going to be leveling them all up a little bit more gradually if by making the boost nodes, but it'll be way more efficient in the long term. But I think you can gain a lot from adding at least one set of boost nodes. I'm hungover, leave me alone. Dude, me too. Chill. So I have this grid for all of the nodes. So you can also look at this if you need help for the dual blade or for any other character that you're going to be playing. So Pathfinder here. So you have this one, right? Burst, Deluge. Wait, do you have Glyph or do you have another skill in there?
No, I have Ancient Astra, I think. It's like a burst.
Oh, you have the Ancient Astra, right.
Yeah, the third one is Ancient Astra. In both of them, I had like the third one is Ancient Astra. So I was like, okay.
I see. Yeah, you'll also notice that it's very easy to find trinodes because you basically need to use almost everything, right?
Yeah. It's all about the combination when it comes to Pathfinders. Like you need to like use every skill you have.
Yeah, quite a bit, yeah. So if you want to make an extra... so I think what's going to be good is just to find your 6 trinodes and have those determined, and then level those up a little bit so you can clearly see which ones are, the ones that you want to keep, and then extract all the ones that have starting skills that you don't need to kind of clean up your matrix. So you'll want 2 extra boost nodes that have for mobbing, that will have Shadow Raven, Swarm Shot, Cardinal Torrent, that combination. And then one for bossing, well, you'll have you have Astra there already. Smiley, do you think it's important that he moves the Astra for the glyph between the nodes to have glyph available for mobbing? They're roughly even. Okay, so that doesn't matter. Okay. And then like 2 more boost nodes with combinations of then glyph, impact, triple impact, and combo assault. And it's kind of important to make it sure that these don't like overlap, but it stays so that you can just switch out 2 extra nodes when you're mobbing and 2 when you're bossing, so that the total amount of boost nodes that you have at a time is only 4. So that you can leave room for all of the skill nodes. And then later on, once you just have so much room that you just can't even possibly fill everything, then you can equip all 3 of them so that you don't have to move as much around.
Okay.
Yeah, so boost nodes are important, and then vicious shot is important, and then the big tornado is also important, and then I think your 4th V, the God, what is it called? I think Smiley said Relic Unleash. That one, yeah.
The new skill, yeah, I think it's called Relic Unleash. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely in that order though, because the real reason why vicious shot is so good is that it increases the percentage of crit that goes into critical damage as you level it. So once it's maxed, it gives you like 50%, which is huge. Which also means that once it's lower level, it's nice, but it's maybe not as good as, well, it's definitely not as good as it could be. So as we're going to level it, you're going to also see your burst increase by a lot. So that's probably the first switch I would make. The Goddess Blessing will also be pretty good for burst, but then that will be after the other ones. Wait, you guys get this bird as well?
Which one? The furry one, I think?
Yeah, like the white bird with the purple... That's so weird.
Yeah, we get it.
But you can't...
I don't like it, to be honest.
No, and you can't use it when you have the Tempest out, right?
Yeah, I think like when it's out, you can do the tornado. I never tried it though, because like I don't like how it looks, but but yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird. I mean, that green arrow is kind of nice.
So weird.
But this one is strange. It's bugged. If you spam the skill trying to activate it, you can drain your gauge. Ooh, that's not good. Tempest cancels Fury. Yeah, okay. Because your bird turns into the other bird. Yeah, that's strange. But yeah, once you put the extra boost nodes in for mobbing or bossing, make sure you level up the slot with the matrix points. Focus those on... I would focus those on the boost nodes. Basically the same order that we want to have all the nodes leveled. So boost nodes, then vicious shot, then the Tempest, and then the Glyph Relic Unbound, right? I already forgot the name again.
Okay, it's fine. I get you.
That's kind of also the same order in which you would put the boost nodes into leveled up matrix slots.
Okay.
Yeah, the bind is probably very useful. Of course, when you're mobbing, you don't use that, so that definitely leaves extra room for like Holy Symbol or the green arrow or something like that. Yeah, I definitely think the Decent Advanced Blessing is nice, but that's like a min-maxy thing for like the bottom line. Once you unlock the bottom line, basically, that's when you can start introducing that one.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and the Decent Sharp Eyes you can just disassemble because you already have real Sharp Eyes, so that can never stack anyway.
That's true. We can't stack 2 of them.
Yeah, so crafting nodes there will be a little bit slower, but all of the things will level up evenly, and you'll get to the finish line faster.
Yeah, I mean, like the process itself of like V-Matrix is supposed to take like more time, right? It's not like a fast thing to do. Right?
Oh yeah.
It takes time.
Yeah, you get some nodes from the finishing journey daily, right? If you do that twice in a week, you get 3 nodes there, just from training, and then because of your situation, if you can get nodes anywhere in event shops, then you want to make sure you buy those out. That's going to be the biggest value for you in any event shop, basically. I don't know if you already have with the current shop or...
I mean, I think I bought like a bunch of them from this Awake event, but like I have like I think 10 remaining to buy.
Okay.
But I'm like short on coins because I'm trying to tier up my Awake ring to legendary and make it like percentage drop or like meso, like for like farming, you know, like getting more meso and better drops. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but do try to, whenever there's an event like this or any kind of shop, try to prioritize buying items that you can't buy in any other way with the event currency, and then have things that you could theoretically also buy with money um, as a lower priority, as long as they are available, of course. So droplets are an exception. You're like, oh, I can find droplets, so I'm not going to buy them with Mezzo. But then, of course, like when they're gone, you can't ever do that again. So that's a priority for Mezzo. But when it comes to like being able to get flames or cubes with the coins, it'll be like, well, you could also get those with money, and those stay available. So it's better to put your coins towards something like the node stones, and then once those are bought out, you can still buy the other ones afterwards if you have left over. Also, if you are ranking up the scroll, do you do that with another character, or do you do that with your main character?
I'm doing it with my Pathfinder, my main character.
Because it is account shared, so you could try to cap points on at least one character, and then that character is just dedicated to leveling up the scroll, so that way you can use more of your currency on your main character to commit to the shop. If possible, maybe if it's, if you start doing some dailies on the dual blade or something, maybe that guy, can commit more towards the scroll. That's the thing that you could do.
Okay.
There's one more thing I was gonna mention with that. Node. Drop in the Mezzo. No, we'll get to the to like the farming and the funding thing in a little bit. So this is your setup for bossing for your link skills.
That's like all my link skills available, to be honest. That's like
okay. It's pretty heavily bossing oriented, right?
Yeah. It's like damage, boss damage, like
IED. Yeah.
Critical rate.
They're definitely good ones, but it is very bossing oriented. So what that does mean is that once you get to confront a boss, you might deal more damage to it, but since the experience and the foundational links are a little bit behind, it means that it takes you longer to get to those bosses, because you'll just get less experience training compared to the other situation. Because
that is true.
Because when you're mobbing, Fury Unleashed does nothing, Light Wash does nothing, Judgment does do something. That one's pretty good. Like Bravado is kind of hit or miss, right? Because the first hit is a lot stronger, but then the second hit, it doesn't do anything for that one. So it's 14% damage, but only if you one shot. If you don't one shot, if you two shot, it's a 7% damage basically, right? Because it's split over 2 hits. If you 3 shot, it's actually like a 5% damage almost. So there's the reduced efficiency there. Thieves' Cunning, not very useful for mobbing either, because it's unstable, right? Something like Elementalism is way more valuable than Thieves' Cunning if you're mobbing, because you want to have the constant baseline of your kill speed. You want that one to be high. You don't want to be one-shotting 20% of the time and then 3-shotting the other. You want to be 2-shotting the whole time. Like, it's way more reliable. And Noble Fire is really only good if you're in a party. If you're soloing, it's also kind of... I think it only gives you like 6%, I think, when you're soloing. And the biggest part of that is also boss damage. So again, when you're mobbing, it doesn't really do anything. And Focus Spirit, half of it is also boss damage. So the crit rate is still nice, of course, if you need it to get to 100%. But if you get the crit rate for Vicious Shot and the boss damage, then it's really only doing stuff when you're bossing as well. So there's a lot of room for when you're mobbing to switch these out with the other links that we saw in the big grid, right? Once you get over those. To make sure that when you're training, you're going to start making way more experience when you're training, and then that'll just feel better that you're moving forward faster. And then when you go back to bosses that you've killed before, you'll notice that they start becoming a lot easier once you're leveling very quickly, because you're going to be leveling, killing quickly, getting more nodes, leveling up your nodes faster, getting to new areas, getting new symbols, speeding up your symbol progress for the older ones, getting a lot of stat from that. And then maybe you don't even upgrade your equips at all, but the bosses will get easier just because you level up and get access to more content in the game.
That is true.
And that's when both the Legion starts snowballing and all of the areas, and your you have the baseline skills to be able to kill the monsters, and your equips maybe kind of are stationary, but everything else starts rolling, then you'll still get a lot stronger. Do we need to go over like what the priority would be for link skills to equip when you're mobbing?
I mean, like I think I saw in your like thingy the lead like link skill like things that I should have. Like I think I can figure it out.
Okay.
It's fine.
Yeah, if there's ever like a question, like you're doubting between two or something, you can always just
I'll text you.
Yeah, just hit me up.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so that brings us to yes. One thing we didn't talk at all about yet is familiars. We can circle back to that in a little bit. Well, we'll probably come to it when we do this.
I mean, I have no familiars whatsoever. Like, I don't know how it works. Like, I see people like spiders when like they like pop the Golik's heart. Like, I know that it does something. I'm not sure what. So yeah.
Yep. Okay, we'll get into that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so look at your stat window. It looks pretty good. Do you feel like you need knockback resistance? Is it annoying in times, or do you sometimes die at bosses when you feel like if I just didn't get knocked back there, I would have lived?
To be honest, it makes things more fun for me to like be all over the map kind of thing. Like I like it. So, I mean, it's not annoying for me. Like it doesn't like fuck up my run, but like,
okay.
Yeah, fine.
If you do find that happens and it starts getting annoying, then the Mihai Link skill will allow you to get 100% knockback resistance. So that could be a character to look into. It's a little bit lower on the priority list, but it can give you some utility for bossing and maybe for mobbing that you don't get pushed around as much.
Okay.
Other than that, yeah. So we'll definitely focus on the IED, right? That one's the crit rate is already at 100%, so we'll keep that in mind. Distribution of your hyperstat seems fine, honestly. Yeah, you're putting a little bit in crit rate, a little bit in dex because you're leveling more slowly now, right? So you don't get like 30 points every single time. It's not like you can go full boss damage. Once you get to a point where you find that you have like level 5 in arcane power and maybe you don't need that anymore, and like level 5 in crit rate, but maybe critical like vicious shot isn't that strong yet, so it's not giving you that much, and you have some in dex, and if you reset all of those, that it could actually give you 1 or 2 levels in boss damage. At that point you want to reset it, but yeah, you're not near that point yet, so that's all fine. Also Monclay number 1 I heard.
That is true.
That is true,
mean,
right?
I saw you the other day in Genesis, and I like famed you, and I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah, I do appreciate that. It's actually very wild to me. Like whenever I stand still anywhere, usually people fame me, and it's like a little small thing, and like fame doesn't really do anything, but it is just really cool to see that more and more. And my mom, I talked about this with my mom as well when she's like, "Oh, you're Scar Mom," and then it's like, "We like what your son does," and she's like, it's so weird to her because she's just on the internet just playing a game, but then people come up to her. And she notices more and more as well that a lot of people like know of me and know of what I do. I mean, I guess it was.
I mean, like you're pretty famous when it comes to like Maple Story community, you know?
Yeah, but like even a year ago, I felt like a lot of people had no idea who I was, and like the last year has been really crazy and booming. Where all over the place, people are like, "Oh, you're that guy. I watch your videos. Big fan." And I'm like, "Damn." It's it's crazy to be in that position, kind of. But I mean,
problems in heaven, eh?
Yeah. Price of fame and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Price of fame, bro. That's the price of fame.
I like having those problems, I guess. I need to get a character in Monkley as well. Hit me up, okay? What were we talking about? Oh yeah, the numbers. So IED is probably something we're going to be looking at. So I have this thing, which is basically sources of IED. I'll send you this as well, so you can just have. Boop. So ambition, that's just gonna, that levels over time when you're bossing. That's all fine. No need to like boost that or something. That gets to 100, and then that's a nice 10%. The base stat on equips, of course, that's very useful. I do have the Monster Barker medal mentioned here. Are you currently working on that one?
Yeah, I'm like I think 30 days. Like 35.
Okay, so like almost halfway. Okay. Are you using the extra clears for Mezzo as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Good. All right. Okay. Yeah. We'll circle back to this later, right? I want to have all the ones that are more flexible and resettable. I want to have those in place first before we commit to like, oh, you need to get a line on your weapon and your emblem or something, because that's very expensive to start re-rolling. So we want to have the other ones in place first. So let's see. So Legion Grid, that comes much later. So set bonus Gollux. So we mentioned that, right? I wouldn't go for the reinforced. I would save up your coins and go straight up for superior. Because those are super expensive, and the 30 chunk is just way better than the 15 chunk. And if you go for the 15 first, you will delay your access to the 30 chunk by a lot. So I would advise not to do that.
Okay. So I'm gonna, I hope the belt is gonna drop soon. It's been like, I think 2 weeks now since the earring dropped. So I'm like waiting for my belt drop.
Mm-hmm. So
I'm not seeing it.
for superior.
Yeah, for superior. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And are you doing like a party or with your guild or?
I mean, like I have a friend in my guild that like always like carries Helux, and yeah, like he lets me take the drop.
Okay.
You know,
that's nice of him. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go. So familiars and badge, we'll get into that in a little bit. You could get a little bit from your soul weapon. Do you know how soul weapons, how that all works? And souls.
Say again. I didn't hear you.
Souls and soul weapons. Do you know how that works? And how you can use it?
I know how it works. I don't have it yet. Like I didn't like do it yet, but yeah, I have a thin grasp.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're saving all your shards for Magnificent Soul events, right?
Yeah, I'm like saving as much as I can.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. All right. Passive hyper skills. So that's one thing, but you already looked into the passive hyper skills for your Let's actually check marksman. No, that I don't believe that is who I clicked. Pathfinder. Oh, right here. Hyper skills. Pathfinder. Okay. What do they get? Do you get like the last 3 and then 2 of the Cardinal Force ones? I don't believe you get any of the Sharp Eyes one, right? Because even the Guard Break, I think that's like 5%. Yeah, and we talked about that.
Yeah, I don't have any on my Sharp Eyes, I think.
No, I don't think they're good enough. I think you might go for extra critical chance in like endgame to min-max, so you get a little bit more critical damage with Vicious Shot, I think. But yeah, that's when you throw everything into a calculator, and a calculator tells you like, this gives you 0.001% more final damage technically. So you're like, okay, I guess I'll switch it over. But
yeah.
So
that's
what do you
later.
Yeah, much later. What do you have leveled now? Do you have like the 3 Ancient Force ones and then 2 of the Cardinal Force, something like that?
I think so. I'm not sure, to be honest. Like I'm not like playing right now. Like I'm not logged in, but I think I have all the passive. Yeah.
Where the Pathfinders in the chat? Which ones do you have?
Which what? Say again.
So sorry, I was asking in the chat. Any Pathfinders?
Okay.
Like Smedley. All 3 Cardinals and then 2 of the Ancient Force ones.
Yeah, I think
So you don't.
I don't have the IED one. Yeah, I have this one for sure. Yeah, I don't have this one.
The Ancient Force Guard Break?
Yeah, I don't have this one. Should I? Or shouldn't I?
Don't. What? Switch boss and IED as you need to. Use the bottom 2 Arcane Force ones. Right, yeah, if you need the IED, you'll use Ancient Force Guard Break, and if you don't, then you use the Boss Rush instead. That'll kind of depend on what your functional IED ends up being, and if it's high enough, and maybe you party with like a Paladin or with a Zero or something who can do like 50% defense reduction, then rolling out of this and giving yourself 20% boss instead will be better. Ancient Force only affects Astra, Glyph, and Combo. Yeah, they have either a Cardinal or Ancient prefix, right? Or like effect. It's kind of like with Kana where you have like the demon skills and the whatever skills. Yeah. Okay, but that makes sense for the hyper skills.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the boost nodes, so that will come in later. Character specific, event buffs, titles, guild skills if leveled, and then big potions. Yeah, the main thing that we need to talk about here is familiars.
Yeah.
Try to not keep you too long as we are getting closer to the time that you said you needed to leave. Familiars. Like, there's a bunch of details, blah, 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 numbers, information. The main thing is familiars drop from a lot of monsters, pretty much all of them. Whichever monster's familiar you get doesn't determine how good it is or how bad it is. What determines it is what rank it is. So if it's common, rare, epic, unique, or legendary. Legendary doesn't exist in Reboot, so that's already out. And only common and rare can drop. And then if you want to tier it up, there's an explanation here. But basically what you do is you need to fuse the same cards into it to make sure that it reaches max fusion level. And you need to level up the card by having the card out when you're killing monsters near your level. And if you do both of those things, you can tier it up at a certain chance. And then the lower the rarity is, the higher the chance. If it fails, you go back down to 50% of the fusion, so you have to refuse the same cards with it to increase the fusion level, and then you can try again once it's at max again. We don't have any kind of cubing system to re-roll the potentials, so just the reveal potential on the rank up is all you get. If that one's bad, you can choose to push it another rank to unique. If that one's bad, you're just stuck with that. If it's bad, you just make another one and try to get better. Early on, you can use common and rare familiars to get 15% IED lines, which is pretty good. And you can get the badges. Do you know how the system works with the badges as well?
No.
They're basically just different sets of familiars.
Okay.
So you go to badges, and then you go to lists, and you can see all the different badges that exist here. So you can equip up to 8 badges at a time, which gives you like very, very small buffs. There's also some 3% IED ones, so that can be nice. But the main thing is that you look through the badges and kind of see which monsters are in there. So some areas like this one have monsters that aren't in a game anymore, so that's typically not a badge you want to aim for completion on. Some of them are just way easier than others, like the Rebel badge here, for example, just has a bunch of monsters near Edelstein. No bosses, no monsters that don't exist anymore. So these are the ones that...
And it gives 1% critical rate.
Yep, this one also gives a percent crit rate, yeah.
Okay.
So ideally you go for the badges that have no bosses in it. If you happen to get the card for the badge and basically that completes the set for you, then you get the other ones and you complete it. The line badge, for example, is a pretty good one. 1% attack, 1% HP, and only has the monsters in the area there. So these are like the good ones to go for. So if you unlock one extra badge, you'll get your second slot. If you want to get the third slot, you have to unlock 10 badges. So that is significantly harder and significantly more work. But getting at least 2 familiars available pretty early, that should be definitely doable. And that will allow you to equip 2 familiars with 15% IED. So you just keep opening them, revealing them. So if you have a new familiar, I don't know if I have any that is not revealed. But basically, if you click them, then this will be a question mark, and you just click that, and then it'll prompt you to pay like whatever 20k or something to reveal the potential. And if it's really shit, then you can extract them for points, and then you can use the points in the shop to get those points here. And then the familiar essence will help you refill the summon gauge here. It'll give you 50% back if you use it. So if you're doing long training sessions on the same day, for example, you might need a few of those. And the booster pack is also pretty good. It has a high chance of giving you, or a decent chance at least of giving you epics. Mostly gives commons or rares, but it can also help you complete some sets or maybe get some very rare familiars that you can't get any other way. But that's basically if you're training in areas, but you're moving areas a lot, and there's all different familiars, then you do this with extra ones. Once you get to Moonbridge or above, and you're training in these areas, and you'll have more drop rate and everything by then, you'll get a lot of familiars just from training, and then you want to work more on trying to fuse them and trying to improve on the familiars that you already have, and you want to go for like boss lines, maybe 30% IED lines, big drop rate lines, those kind of things. And solid healing as well. Those are like the ones to look out for. So boss damage, IED, big healing, and big drop rate.
Gotcha.
I also made exclamation mark drop rate. I think that also links in the familiar one. This basically talks about the familiar lines, how much of drop rate they are, and how all of that stacks with each other, and what would be like the ideal situation drop rate wise if you're mobbing and bossing, and what is like more realistic situation that you can aim for.
Okay, I will go through that. Okay.
Yeah, and this is what the old spider has. So it used to be that certain monsters had specific potentials before. So that's why people kept those spiders from before, because they have a large amount of drop rate. So that's why.
Okay.
Okay. All right, yeah, so the 2 extra familiars with IED will help you a lot. And then the extra set bonus, the medal, the Legion and the Lynx, all of those are going to help you a lot in IED. I think those will help you enough to the point where you don't need a line of IED just yet in your WSE. I don't think so. If you already have one, then we can keep it, of course. So your weapon has 10% attack.
No, my weapon is still unique. It's not. No. It's still like I need to work on it more.
Oh, I love that defense line in your shoulder.
Oh my god, that killed me. I was like, why? I was like 3-line decks. What the fuck? And then I saw the deck.
You saw the 12, right? And it's like, wait, why is it not 30? Oh, it's enough.
Yeah, I was like, it was like 12, 10, 10. Like I was like, what? And then bummer.
Yeah. Is that earring is 969?
Yeah.
Well, that's gonna stay unique for a while.
Yeah.
No need to
and
switch.
It's reinforced. Yeah. Fine as it is.
Yeah. No. Yeah. That's fine. Damn. Okay. Secondary. So attack. Oh, that's the potential that I get on the wake ring. Like those are the kind of potentials that I am used to rolling.
God. Yeah.
But the pants are very nice.
Video. The what?
The pants are very nice.
Yeah. I was so hyped when I got them. Should I work on the flame though? What do you think?
Yeah, a little bit. So when it comes to flames, do you know how it works with flame scores and everything?
Yeah.
So basically what I would do is look at this. So this is like my general progression advice throughout the game for kind of everyone. Just so that it gives you a general idea of where do you want the balance for everything in your account to be. And if you're way ahead on something that you know that you don't have to worry about that for a while, and you want to divert your focus on other stuff, like let's say your star force total is like way higher than where you want, what the grid says, then you're probably your Legion level or your main stat or something is probably a little bit lower instead. So that way you can kind of see where do I need to spend more of my time and money. Dude, I keep missing my fucking train of thought because my brain is so slow. You asked about the flames. Yeah. So to prioritize what you want to flame and whether you need to work on your flame at all, you want to look at like the flame score goal here. So you're like begin late game, right? You're 222, you said? Yeah, so the flame score goal kind of would be for and you know about the difference between flame advantage and no flame advantage?
Yeah. I saw a video that you explained a bunch of these concepts.
Okay, yeah, so for non-flame advantage, like around 25 is good enough, 20, 25. And then for things with flame advantage, around 75 is probably what you want to aim for right now. So the way that you prioritize is to see how far off of this goal is the item. So like a flame advantage item with 50 would be like the same level of priority as a non-flame advantage with 0, right? Because they would be both 25 off.
Yeah.
But yeah, if the flame advantage item has 60 or something, and then the other one has 20, then yeah, that's a higher priority because there's more gains to be made. So in general, I think I came by your hat. I think the hat probably has a lot of room for improvement, right? Probably one of the most, because it's just a 4%.
Yeah, it's like 4% all stats.
Yeah, so that's like 34 or something, right? So compared to the pants, which were 5 and 5, I believe. So that's 5, 15, 5, 8, 42 and a half. So that's like 57 and a half or something. So that's way closer. So the hat would be a higher priority there. But above all else, the highest priority for all flaming is your weapon, because there is no attack power flame on this.
I mean, I'm flaming my weapon like right now. Like that's like the newest flame I got, like I think 2 hours ago. Like before I took the pictures. And yeah, I was like 5% damage, 3% all stats. I was like, that's fine for the video, but I'm gonna flame it for sure. Like I need some attack.
Yeah, do you know how much?
Some magic attack. What?
Yeah, and sadly that doesn't do anything. Are you?
No.
Do you know what you're aiming for?
I think 47 attack and like some like main stat.
So if you use the flame calculator, you can put in the numbers like this. So here you have the weapon level, and then the base attack was 192, I believe, right? It's a little bit grainy. I think it's 192 plus 76 gets 268. Yeah. And then you can see here what the different tiers are. So this is the highest you can get with a powerful flame is tier 6. So ideally you want to aim for either tier 6 and then with nothing else, or a tier 5 and then maybe some of the lines that you have now, like plus percentage damage and plus percentage all stat, something like that to kind of sweeten the deal. So that would be either 59 or 77.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because of, 77 being this flame score, because of that, you probably want to, what's the Xenon? Let's do the Dex character, but it'll end up being the same thing. Yeah, because it's this, that's way more gain. I mean, your hat is not going to gain this much, right? Your hat is going to gain maybe like 30 or 40, not 300. So that's why the weapon is, above all else, top priority for flaming. Yes, and then you look at items with flame advantage, from the highest level to the lower levels to kind of see where is the most room. I think your shoe had some... yeah, because it's a magic attack line, right? So the shoe is basically the same as the hat now, but it's a higher level item. So the same quality of flame will end up being a slightly higher number when it comes to how much stat it gives you, because it's in a higher tier. So the shoe is even a slightly higher priority than the hat, and then the cape is probably roughly around the same. Because I think
the cape is bad too.
36, yeah. So there's a lot of room for growth here just from some flames versus. Because it's already tiered up, it's already legendary. But of course, Star Force is also a really good way to gain a lot of damage, specifically past 15. There is a 5 and 15 coming up, but I don't know if...
I think in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, I think the 17th. Yeah, a little bit more than 2 weeks. But I don't know if your income will allow you to... It might be more important to just say the things that you already have at 15, push those to 17. And then kind of see what you have after that. Just saying like, oh, just get everything to 17 might be pretty expensive, especially if you have Abzo at 10 stars, because you'll have to safeguard it, get it to 15, which might end up costing you a lot of money. That's ideally something you want to do during a 30% off. Or maybe even during like a 1+1 up to 10 Star Force event, rather than during a 5, 10, 15. I mean, it's nice for the 10 to 11, but for all the other ones, you don't gain as much, and when you have to safeguard, it's pretty pricey.
Yeah, I'm also gonna like work on my DB during the Star Force event, because I have like a bunch of like Zakum capes, like Von Leon stuff. Like this Pathfinder was like the first character I made in Reboot, so I didn't like know the mechanics. Like I didn't know that you can like transfer the stars, and it's gonna be like like less expensive and more convenient, because if you boom
Yeah,
like a Zakun cape, like it's fine, you know, but if you boom
it's
like an
whatever.
Absol cape, it's like a bummer, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's weeks of
So
weeklies to
yeah.
get it back. Yeah.
Oh my god, I boomed my gloves like I think last 30% off, and it was like awful. I was like, what? Like it boomed at like 0.7%. I was
Yep.
like,
Yeah.
that's not happening to me right
Yeah,
now.
but yeah, it does. You'll think it won't happen, but it will.
Yeah.
Let's see the difference in cost real quick. So I don't know if you've seen this calculator before. You can kind of use this to get some kind of idea of how much something is going to cost. So if you like 10 to 17 on a level 160 item, no star catching, but you do safeguard during a 5, 10, 15, it costs like somewhere around like $1.5 billion per item. And if you would do that at a 30% off instead, I don't know if it's going to be that much cheaper. It's actually more expensive. That's really weird. Okay. Oh yeah, but the ideal situation would be to do this, right? 700, like 600, 650, something like that, and then add this during that, so that you end up at like, you know, like basically like 1.3 bill. That's like the ideal scenario. But if you had to choose, so like 1.3 is what we're comparing with. So if you do it straight up during a 5, 10, 15, it's actually not that much more expensive. This one is much more expensive because going 15 to 17 at 30% off is very, very expensive compared to doing it during a 5, 10, 15. So you can see that the cost to get up to 15 actually is a small chunk. So, but it does seem like it's going to be 200 to 300 mil extra per item. So if it's 5 items, it's an extra bill, right? So it is a difference. But yeah, if you have enough money, you could consider doing it. It's not necessarily that bad, or not like a huge waste of money.
Like mainly my income of Meso comes from like Urses and like Maple tours like 7 times a day, and like just weekly bosses. It's not like I don't make a lot of money. Like I don't farm yet. That's why, yeah.
Yeah.
So like I have maybe like 3 bills saved up right now. So
yeah, so you get to like 5, maybe 5.5 or something by the time.
Yeah. Maybe even less. Like
Maybe
2
less,
weeks versus yeah, like 2.5 bill, give or take.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, so definitely prioritize getting to 17 what's already 15. And then if you look at the progression grid, it's probably going to be like disproportionately you're going to have more Star Force maybe than you would want to have in the other things. But once you get to this point, and especially once you get to the point where everything is pretty much legendary and 17 stars, whichever event rolls around, that's the one that you disproportionately spend time and money on. And then you might go a little, you know, the balance will be a little bit off, but it'll be restored with the next event, basically. And you just let the events dictate where you spend your money. Yeah, because you said you had to go like 15 minutes ago, so make sure you let me know if you really got to go, okay? Because I don't want to make you late.
I can do like more like 5-10 minutes.
Okay. So yeah, so like Star Forcing, that's like the general idea there, because I would go with that since the items are already legendary, and I don't want to, because you do make money at a certain rate, I don't want to be like, oh yeah, just get a Enraged Zakun cape instead, and then just completely have to redo that potential. That might be that's more expensive than how much money you save by doing it the other way. So for your dual blade, yes, do that. For your Pathfinder, keep it this way.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you want to speed up that whole process, having a Kana farmer will be just higher income. However, of course, while you're leveling on the training on the Kana, there's going to be a lot of initial investment that has to go towards the Kana. So you're like halting your progress on your characters first to get the Kana higher kill speed and stronger and all that. And then once you do have it, it makes more money per hour that you train, but you don't gain any experience on your main characters, or your main, either your Pathfinder or your dual blade. You don't gain any experience there during that time. So that's like the downside.
Yeah, so coming to my point, do you think like is it smart for me to like farm on my Pathfinder? Like make some like drop gear, meso gear, and like it's a great mobber like mobbing class. Like Pathfinder like is like pretty good.
Yeah,
when it comes to
I would
mobbing.
always go for drop rate and meso gear on your character
Okay.
if you're planning on training it for a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
For someone who's like planning to only get to like 230 or something and be like, I want to be able to do like party, Lotus, and Damien, and that's kind of it. That's how far I'm gonna go. Then I would say maybe don't invest in that because you're not gonna get your investment back basically. But if you're planning to go beyond and at least like to Lucid and stuff and maybe approach level 250 at some point, then yeah, meso and dropper gear always pays back for itself, definitely.
Okay. Okay.
And to get the Kana or not, I think it should be mainly determined by how many hours of coverage do you have with totems, and do you have a lot of time left in the end of the month where you're like, I do want to play more, but I have no totems, so it's just shitty, and then you can rely on the Kana instead.
Okay.
So if you have like 2 or 3 days in a month left, that's probably not worth it, but if you have like 15 days in your month left where you're out of totems, then it might be worth getting the Kana on the side to be able to use that to rely on more income during those times.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yep. Okay.
I think we're good.
Yeah, the only thing I would say equip-wise is once you get through with the star forcing, like the priority definitely will lie in the potential of the emblem and the secondary and your weapon. Those are definitely more important. The rest is already legendary, so that could be like a big. If there's any kind of big cube sale, you just throw like massive amounts of red cubes on there just to one
Do you
item
know
at a
of
time.
any?
Not right now, no. There hasn't been any announced, so.
Okay.
I was gonna say somewhere next year, but it is already next year. So hopefully somewhere in February or something, February or March maybe, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yeah, but the potential from your weapon, secondary, and emblem, that's definitely where you can still make a lot of gains. But like if if everything was different, there was no Star Force event coming, that would be my first advice to work on those. But since we do have Star Force event coming, this takes lower priority. Yeah, so I would aim for either 2 lines of attack on the emblem or a line of attack and a line of IED, maybe for now. And then on your secondary, aim for 2 lines of attack or a line of attack and a line of boss. And then for your weapon, just aim for 2 lines of attack, basically. But if you get the same amount of stats, but in another configuration, that's fine too, right? Let's say your boss, say you get 2 lines of attack on the emblem and you get a line of IED, and a line of attack and like a small line of boss or something on the weapon, then you definitely keep that as well. It's not ideal, and you definitely won't keep it forever, but it can be a very good temporary setup. In the beginning, you just have a lot of outs, so you have a lot of combinations that are useful for you, so don't miss out on any nice combination by trying to min-max too hard early on.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
we're good.
Yeah, we sped through it a little bit, but I think we're good. Yeah, there's some homework for you to do, but
yeah, lots of homework for you to do.
yeah. Most of it is the details, though. As long as you get the main ideas, as long as I got those across, then you're fine. Yeah,
like
just
now I know what should I work on. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like I know where to go from here. So yeah,
for sure.
Good.
Yep.
Okay.
Right. If anything pops up or any of the commands are confusing, just let me know, and then I'll do my best.
Thank you very much.
To help you out.
Thank you very much, bro.
Yeah, I won't keep you very long. Good luck with your whatever stuff you're doing, and Happy New Year.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, no problem.
Happy
Bye.
New Year's, man.
Yes, thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Yeah, I was a little hungover, so I kind of left him hanging, and he was like, "We could do it another day," and I'm like, "No, you paid for this. I don't want to have you come back another week," because we already had to postpone a week because he couldn't last week. Something came up, so yeah. I also didn't want to keep him too long. He said he had to go like 50 minutes ago, so don't want to get him late. But yeah, I could tell there were a few things, like few gaps in his knowledge when it came to ID and that kind of stuff. So happy to have informed him on that and the familiars. So yes, I think he got his money worth. I think he got a lot of in his time worth, a lot of extra information. So if you would also like one of these sessions, perhaps with a slightly less hungover Scardor, then check the description of the video, and then maybe at some point in the near future, you can be talking to me as well, and I can be helping you out, finding out how you can maintain or increase your level of fun while also increasing your level of efficiency and strength on all of your characters combined.